Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. SBI beats the street in the second quarter. 4,600 crore rupee gain from the Yes Bank stake sale boosts the bottom line. Asset quality and net interest margins improve. Credit growth better than the industry average. The chairman, C.S. Sethi, says strong credit demand is making a comeback, raises the credit growth guidance to 12 to 14% for the year. Auto major M&M Cruises in the second quarter reports an operationally strong quarter with headline numbers growing in double digits. Market share in SUVs, light commercial vehicles and tractors improves. Currency headwinds bother Indigo in Q2 despite better operational performance. The airline's losses widened to over 2,500 crores. The management calls Q2 a recovery quarter, expects an escalation in operational costs going forward. More relief for Vodafone Idea, this time from the taxman. The Supreme Court allows the IT department to withdraw an 8,500 crore rupee transfer pricing case that dates back to FY08. The relief comes a day after the apex court said the government was free to consider offering the company relief on its overall AGR dues. The big CNBC TV 18 exclusive Mehli Mistry writes to Tata Trust Chairman Noel Tata days after his ouster from the board, says Mistry has sought to part ways and put a quietus to speculative media reports. No word yet from the Tata Trust. Marquee investors flood grows anchor book as the stockbroking firm kickstarts its 6,600 crore rupee IPO. The issue sees a 57% subscription, with the retail category fully subscribed on day one. Lenskart's IPO subscribed over 28 times. The National Company Law Appellate Tribunal allows WhatsApp to share user data with parent Meta and its subsidiaries for advertising purposes, sets aside the Competition Commission order that had barred the flow of data, also sets aside a CCI order that helped WhatsApp's 2021 privacy policy as unfair. ChatGPT maker OpenAI is flexing its muscles as it bets big on the artificial intelligence ecosystem, reduces reliance on Microsoft, signs a $38 billion deal with Amazon, also strengthens its ties with Nvidia as it seeks to build a vertically integrated AI powerhouse. Western nations' economic actions against Russia boost energy giants' quarterly earnings. The world's largest oil company, Saudi Aramco's profit beats estimates as production increase offsets the impact of lower prices. British oil giant BP sees stronger than expected quarter, announces a $750 million share buyback. Political parties make a final pitch as campaigning for phase one of the Bihar election comes to an end. Polling will take place across 121 constituencies on Thursday. The remaining 122 seats will go to the polls on the 11th of November. Voters in New York throng polling booths to elect their new mayor. President Trump endorses outgoing Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is running as an independent, threatens to cut funding if Zohran Mamdani wins the election. Mamdani, who's running on a Democratic Party ticket, is currently leading in the polls. Chairman of the Hinduja Group, Gopichand Hinduja, dies at 85. Hinduja is credited with transforming the company into a transnational conglomerate. Well, let's start with the day's market action. The Lal Street ended in the red with the Nifty closing below the 25,600 mark. All sectoral indices closed in the red, in fact, barring consumer durables. And that was the picture as far as the markets were concerned. So all the markets closing in the red today. The Indian rupee, meanwhile, strengthened after 3 straight days of losses. This unlikely intervention by the Reserve Bank amidst an uptick in the dollar. However, the currency slipped slightly before closing on imported-driven demand for the dollar. That was the rupee for you. But let's talk about the big earnings of the day. State Bank of India reporting a strong set of numbers for the second quarter, beating estimates on all parameters. Asset quality is also improved sequentially. A 4,600 crore rupee gain from the Yes Bank stake sale has boosted the bottom line. SBI Chief C.S. Sethi says that strong credit demand is making a comeback, and he's raised the credit growth guidance for the bank to 12 to 14% for the year.
And we have very large portfolio of these segments, which means that a double-digit growth rate here will itself contribute to 12 to 14% credit guidance what I've given. We still have a board seat on the S Bank. We will help the strategic partner to settle down and ensure that the bank is on the growth path, and we are not in a hurry to exit. Neither we have any compulsion to stay back.
Well, that's strong numbers there from SBI raising its credit growth guidance. And speaking of strong earnings. Shares of automaker M&M surging after the company's second quarter performance was ahead of estimates on most fronts. Net profit rose nearly 18%. Margins stood at 14.5%, expanded more than expected. Sudarshan is standing by to wrap up M&M's numbers for us. A very strong quarter there, Sud.
It's an operationally strong set of earnings from Mahindra & Mahindra for Q2 FY26, and the biggest positive surprise was the improvement that company has seen in the margin, and also on the market share front it continues to gain, and in LCV it has gained market share of almost 100 basis points. In SUVs the gain is of almost 400 basis points, and in tractor also it has gained almost 50 basis points. Talking about the headline numbers, profit has increased by 18%, and revenue as per the expectations also we were expecting an increase of in the range of 20-23%. Company has reported an increase of 21%. EBITDA has seen a jump of 23%, and margin surprisingly has come in above 14%. It has come in at 14.5%, an expansion of 20 basis points, and we were expecting a fall and come in the range of 13.8 to 13.9%, and this was led by healthy improvement that company has seen in the tractor segment. On the volume front also, YOY tractor segment volumes were up almost 32%. Even the auto segment volumes were sharply higher YOY. Now talking segment-wise, in the auto, revenue was up 18%, EBIT has increased by 14%, and due to GST transition, there was a slight dip in the margin. It has come at 9.1% versus 9.5%. But here also positive part was that realization has improved by 4% versus expectation of a fall in the range of 1 to 2%. Talking about the tractor segment, revenue has increased by 23%, EBIT has jumped by 48%, and margin has come in sharply higher. It has come at 20% versus 16%, while realization here was down 7%. In the commentary, the focus will be what exactly company talks about FY26 outlook and the new launches, and also what's the strategy to meet CAFE 3 emission norms. But as far as the earnings are concerned, it's a very strong set by Mahindra & Mahindra for Q2 of FY26.
So many thanks. From Mahindra & Mahindra to aviation, India's second quarter losses for Indigo widened to over 2,500 crore rupees. This is currency headwinds weighed on the airline despite an improved operational performance. Madiha standing by to take us through Indigo's numbers. Madiha.
Well, we know that the first quarter of this fiscal was bad for Indigo due to the airspace closure, given the border tensions and flight cancellations due to geopolitical tensions. And the second quarter isn't any better, weighed down by a big foreign exchange hit. So while the airline's revenue rose 9.3% year-on-year to over 18,500 crores, the net loss widened to around 2,600 crores from a loss of nearly 1,000 crores last year. Now, Indigo says that the loss this quarter was largely driven by rupee depreciation and dollar-linked costs. We know that fuel and maintenance are all paid in dollars. Now, CEO Peter Albers told analysts that after the earnings announcement that excluding the forex impact, Indigo would have posted a profit of over 100 crores. The airline's rental and aircraft maintenance charges climbed to over 3,260 crores, while forex losses ballooned to nearly 2,900 crores compared with just 240 crores last year. Now, CFO Gaurav Negi was explaining to analysts that most of the Indigo's major costs, from fuel to maintenance, as I was mentioning earlier, are dollar denominated. He said that the currency depreciation remains the key reason for the loss on capacity and fleet. The CFO said that Indigo is currently having around mid-40 grounded aircraft, and that the grounding situation is not easing as quickly as they had anticipated. So to bridge the gap, Indigo will continue to add capacity through damp leases, though he admitted that it comes at a marginally higher cost than dry leases. The CFO also guided that unit costs will likely rise in FY26 versus FY25 due to fewer aircraft being brought back from grounding and higher damp lease additions that the airline will have to do to augment capacity. But he maintained that Indigo is on a solid footing with 38,000 crores of free cash and continued investment in MRO, infrastructure and aircraft financing. So overall, a quarter of currency pain, but operational strength as Indigo continues to expand its reach, defend its margins and prepare for the long-haul flying.
All right, Madhya, many thanks for joining us. That's Indigo, but more earnings. Adani Enterprises net profit rose by 84% owing to a one-time gain of 3,500 crore rupees from the sale of its stake in AWL Agri. However, revenue decreased 6%. EBITDA declined to 23% on an annualized basis. The company's board has approved a fundraise of up to 25,000 crore rupees via rights issue. Adani Ports posted a steady second quarter performance, largely meeting estimates. Net profit up 27% year-on-year. Revenue rose 30%, primarily due to increased income from its logistics and marine businesses. Adani Ports also reaffirmed its FY26 guidance for both revenue and cargo volume. Well, relief for Vodafone Idea in one of its longest-running tax battles. The Supreme Court has allowed the Income Tax Department to withdraw its long-pending 8,500 crore rupee transfer pricing case against Vodafone India Services. Timsy is here with more big relief coming in for Vodafone. Timsy.
Well, yes, the Income Tax Department on 3rd of November moved the Apex Court to withdraw its long-pending 8,500 crore rupees transfer pricing case against Vodafone India Services. The Commissioner of Income Tax filed the withdrawal plea before a Supreme Court bench led by Chief Justice B.R. Gavai. The court allowed the withdrawal. Formal order is expected soon, but meanwhile, just a backdrop to what was this matter. Well, the case pertains to a transfer pricing order in connection with sale of Vodafone India's Ahmedabad-based call center business to Hutchinson Wapmau Properties India as part of internal restructuring in FY8 and assignment of call options to Vodafone International Holdings BV. Income Tax Department had in April 2016 challenged the Bombay High Court's order, which was then the October 2015 judgment that favored Vodafone India Services, the Indian arm of Vodafone Group PLC, in a 8,500 crore transfer pricing tax dispute. The case remained pending since 2017 without any hearing in the Apex Court. The High Court on October 8, 2015 had overruled the order by the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, that is IT80, issued in 2014 that the Income Tax Department has the jurisdiction in the transfer pricing tax case involving the sale of Vodafone's call center business to Hutchinson Wapmau Properties and assignment of call options to Vodafone International Holdings BV in 2007 and 2008. Vodafone India Services had challenged the jurisdiction of the tax department, had sought to add 8,500 crore rupees to its taxable income in financial year 2007-2008. In 2013, the tax department claimed a tax of 3,700 crore rupees from Vodafone India in this case. So now formally the order is expected, but yes, the court has allowed withdrawal of this application.
Well, finally, the end of that particular tax matter. Timsy, many thanks for joining us. Shares of Indus Towers gained after its promoter Bharti Airtel received the approval to increase stake in the company. Bharti Airtel said that a special committee of directors approved the acquisition of up to 5% additional stake in the tower infrastructure provider. The telecom major could increase its stake in Indus Towers in one or more tranches. IPO corner, the retail portion of gross 6,600 crore rupee IPO has been fully subscribed on the first day itself. Total subscription stands at 57%. Ahead of the IPO, the stockbroking firm raised nearly 3,000 crore rupees from anchor investors. And it's the final day of the bids for Lenskart 7,300 crore rupee IPO. The company saw an overall subscription over 28 times. This was led by non-institutional investors, and this was followed by the retail portion. The IPO comprises a fresh issue of 2,150 crores and an offer for sale of 12.75 crore equity shares. But the big CNBC TV 18 exclusive tonight, Mehli Mistry has written to the Tata Trust chairman, Noel Tata, just days after his ouster from the Tata Trust board. Sources say that Mistry has sought to part ways and put a quietus to a speculative media reports. Remember, a majority of the trustees voted against Mistry's reappointment. The trustees who voted against him include Noel Tata, Vijay Singh and Venu Srinivasan. They voted against extending Mehli Mistry's term. Parikshit joins us now with the details. Parikshit, this letter comes just after Mehli Mistry had actually filed a caveat with the Charities Commissioner saying that he must be heard before any action is taken. So what does this now mean? Is it the end of the battle and the end of Mehli Mistry's association with the Trust?
Are the differences within the Tata Trust coming to an end? days after approaching the Charity Commissioner's office stating that he must be heard before any change in trust is approved, Mehli Mistry has written a letter to Tata Trust Chairman Noel Tata. CNBC TV18 has learned from sources that Mistry in the letter has said that it was his privilege to serve as a trustee on the board of Tata Trust till October 28. CNBC TV18 has earlier reported that a majority of trustees had voted against his reappointment for life. Sources further add that Mistry expressed an intention in the letter to put a quietus to the speculative media reports and also part ways. He further said that precipitation of differences could cause irreparable damage to the reputation of Tata Group. Tata Trust is having its first board meeting after the ouster of Mehli Mistry on November 11. In the next few weeks, Tata Trust has to inform the Office of Charity Commissioner, which is the nodal body for trusts, that there has been a change in trustees. It remains to be seen whether this letter by Mehli Mistry means that the differences between trustees on how Tata Sons should be governed and how nominee directors should be appointed are over. The question of public listing of Tata Sons is still open. Further proceedings at the Charity Commissioner's office and at the November 11 board meeting of Tata Trust will be an indicator of things to come.
Well, one will have to wait to see, but this is a big development. Mehli Mistry apparently saying that he would like to part ways. Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Big win for Meta in India. The National Law Company Appellate Tribunal has set aside the Competition Commission's order that barred WhatsApp from sharing user data with Meta for advertising purposes. Ashmit is standing by with the details. Ashmit, what does this mean for WhatsApp in India? And more importantly, what are the grounds for this order?
Well, big relief coming in for messaging service WhatsApp as well as for its parent company Meta. The NCLAT quashing the CCI direction which barred WhatsApp from sharing user data with its parent company Meta or its subsidiaries. What this effectively does is that it allows WhatsApp to use the user data to share it with its parent companies for purposes of advertising. Now, this is something that they were particularly keen on, the NCLAT granting that relief. Now, all of this goes back to the 2021 privacy policy. That's the time WhatsApp introduced its new privacy policy, essentially asking users to either agree to sharing their data with the parent company Meta or to stop using the messaging service altogether. Now, that's where the competition watchdog came into play. It took Cuomo to cognizance of this policy, says it's not happy with this take it or leave it approach that WhatsApp messaging service has taken, that this is abuse of dominant position, this is in contravention, this is in violation of competition law, and that such behavior cannot be permitted. And towards that end, the competition watchdog had slapped two directions. Number one, a penalty of about 213 crore rupees, and importantly, a direction restraining WhatsApp from sharing user data with its parent company. The latter, that's the bar on sharing data, has now been set aside. Meanwhile, the penalty, importantly, has been upheld. But effectively, WhatsApp and Meta are saying that they welcome this judgment, that this will allow them more flexibility going forward. What's important, of course, now to watch whether or not the competition watchdog chooses to appeal this judgment before the apex court.
Ashmit, many thanks. Hyundai Motor India launching its second-generation SUV. It's called the Venue. The new avatar of the car comes with design, technology and safety upgrades. The introduction price starts at 7.8 lakh rupees. Speaking to CNBC TV18, Tarun Garg, the MD and CEO designate of Hyundai Motor India, said that Venue remains the second biggest volume driver for the company. He also said that rural demand for SUVs has touched an all-time high for Hyundai.
This fiscal first 6 months were kind of muted 0% types. I believe now we can come back to the 5% level which we are used to. So I think in the short to mid term, a 5% growth is what we are really anticipating. Rural is at an all-time high. Rural is now contributing about 24% to overall sales. It used to be about 19% 5 years back. Very clearly, rural customers have come out in big numbers during this festival as well. The other trend, which is again on the uprise, is that rural customers are asking for more and more SUVs. In fact, for the first time, I saw that rural SUV contribution actually surpassed the urban SUV contribution.
Well, that's Hyundai's Tarun Garg. In global earnings, Uber posted its strongest growth since 2023 in Q3, surpassing Wall Street's expectations. Net income nearly tripled owing to a $6 billion one-time gain from a tax valuation release and a pre-tax benefit from re-evaluation of equity investments. Revenues jumped 20% as gross bookings surged 21%. Saudi Aramco posting a strong performance in Q3 as well. The world's largest oil company has been increasing production as part of its oil lobby OPEC Plus's policy. This helped mitigate the impact of the lower crude prices. The production capacity growth target has also revised upwards from 60% to around 80% over the 2021 production levels. And there's more from oil. British oil giant BP reporting a strong set of numbers for Q3. The company attributed progress on disinvestment and its cost-cutting drive as its reasons. The company's also announced a share buyback of another $750 million over the next 3 months. Chairman of the Hinduja Group, Gopichand Hinduja, has died at a hospital in London at the age of 85. Known as GP in business circles, he joined the family business in 1950 and is credited with transforming the company into a transnational conglomerate. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that India is on track to becoming the third largest economy. Speaking at an event today, the Finance Minister said India stands tall and distinct because of its economic strength. Remember, earlier in August, US President Trump had called India a dead economy while expressing his disappointment over the country's continuation of buying oil from Russia, despite the US raising an alarm. Here's the Finance Minister.
India stands together today and stands tall and stands distinctly on its feet is because of the economic strength of India. What is making us literally stand out is the fast movement between the 10th largest economy in 2014 to 5th and the 4th, and now sooner probably to the 3rd. And that is what stands out. And that's the strength with which India can, one, outside, make sure it can speak for itself, stand for itself, defend itself.
Well, that's the Finance Minister. Up next on India Business Hour, tech giants race to expand AI and data infrastructure as demand outstrips capacity. That and more when we return. And you can catch all of CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X and Jio Hotstar. Subscribe to CNBC TV 18 Access for exclusive stories and our special shows. Well, tech giants are racing to expand AI and data infrastructure as demand outstrips capacity. OpenAI has signed a $38 billion deal to buy cloud services from Amazon Web Services over the next 7 years. As part of the deal, OpenAI will be able to use Amazon's data centers, which are powered by Nvidia's chips. Rachna joins us now to explain. Rachna, OpenAI not reliant on Microsoft anymore.
That's true. From custom chips with AMD and Broadcom to GPU alliances with Nvidia, cloud scaling through Amazon, Microsoft and Google, and data center expansion with Oracle. OpenAI is constructing the entire ecosystem it once relied on others for. OpenAI's new partnerships follow a restructuring of its long-standing deal with Microsoft. The two renewed their agreement, keeping Azure as the main platform for OpenAI's deployments, but removed the exclusivity clause that had tied the firm to Microsoft alone. It has since added Google Cloud and expanded its pact with CoreWeave, that valued at up to $6.5 billion. Together, these deals ensure OpenAI now runs across 4 major global cloud networks. And on the hardware front, OpenAI is pushing deeper into chips. With AMD, it has signed a multi-year agreement covering up to 6 gigawatts of Instinct GPUs, along with warrants for up to 10% of AMD's stock. AMD calls OpenAI an early design partner on its next generation MI450 chips. At the same time, OpenAI is strengthening its ties with Nvidia, the rival. The two have agreed on a global rollout of 10 gigawatts of Nvidia systems, backed by up to $100 billion in phased investment. The first systems go live in 2026 on Nvidia's new Vera Rubin platform. Alongside these alliances, OpenAI is also working with Broadcom to build its own custom AI accelerators and networking systems that will deliver another 10 gigawatts of capacity by the end of this decade. And at the infrastructure layer, Project Stargate is taking shape. Partnering with Oracle, OpenAI is building 4.5 gigawatts of new data center capacity in the US and as a part of the global expansion worth around $300 billion over 5 years. This also includes a major hub in the UAE. For the first time, OpenAI will not just rent compute, but own the infrastructure behind its models altogether. These deals mark a major strategic shift. OpenAI is no longer dependent on a single provider. It is building vertically integrated AI powerhouse that spans chips, cloud, and data centers, securing every layer of its growth. So the AI race is no longer just about smarter models. It's about who controls the compute that powers them, and OpenAI is making sure that power from silicon to server is firmly in its own hands.
All right, Rachna, many thanks for joining us. Back home, campaigning for the first phase of elections for the Bihar Assembly is over. A total of 121 constituencies will go to the polls on the 6th of November. And ahead of that, political parties made one final pitch to their voters. Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a rally in Darbhanga and promised that 3.6 crore people would receive free health cover up to 5 lakh rupees. He also added that the proposed IT park in Darbhanga will create jobs for the youth. Other NDA leaders, including BJP President JP Nadda, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, UP CM Adityanath and Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta also held rallies across the state. India Bloc's CM candidate and RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav also made a last-ditch effort to woo voters. He promised 30,000 rupees for financial aid for women and higher minimum support price for paddy and wheat. Meanwhile, during a rally in Kutumba, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi accused the Prime Minister of distracting the youth with social media addiction. At least 4 people feared dead, several injured after a passenger train collided with a goods train in Chhattisgarh. Rescue operations are currently underway. Train services on the route have been stopped and several express and passenger trains have been cancelled or diverted following the accident. In international news, Israeli forces continue to attack Gaza, destroying houses in eastern parts of the enclave. Israel has released 3 Palestinian prisoners as part of the ceasefire deal. Russia said its forces carried out heavy overnight strikes on Ukrainian military airfield, other military installations and gas infrastructure facilities that supported them. Moscow also said that its troops advanced into an eastern Ukrainian city that it's been trying to capture for over a year. However, Ukraine maintained that Russian troops had not made gains into the past. New Yorkers head to the polls to pick their new mayor as a frenetic 5-month general election campaign draws to a close. The 3 candidates for the mayor toured the suburbs of the state in the final hours of the campaign, delivering closing messages after a record-setting early voting period. Most polls have given the Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani the clear lead over former Governor Andrew Cuomo and Republican candidate Curtis Sliver. However, Cuomo, who's running as an independent after losing in the primary, has won an endorsement from President Donald Trump. Coffee giant Starbucks has announced a joint venture with Chinese PE firm Boyu Capital to run its operations in China. According to the deal, the firm will hold 60% stake and Starbucks will hold 40% in that joint venture. The deal is valued at $4 billion, with Starbucks owning the intellectual property and licensing. This comes after Starbucks China sales increased just 2% in the 4th quarter, continuing the trend of weak performance in the region. Well, that's the latest there on the joint venture in China that Starbucks has inked. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. We've got plenty more coming up for you. Don't go anywhere. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.